Hi, I'm Rob, and in this Gems of War video, I'm going to take a look in the Soulforge and tell you what I think is good and bad in there, what's worth crafting and what isn't. I'm going to take a look at the new weekly glory troop, tell you what I think about that, and tell you what I think is the best mythic to craft in the Soulforge this week. Anyway, I left my job at a shoe disposal plant. It was soul destroying. Oh my goodness. Anyway, Herald of Crystanax. This is the weekly glory troop. Let's take a look at this. A Silverglade Epic converts all blue gems to green dragon gems, and if Crystanax is in my team, all allied dragons gain 4 magic. Uses 13 mana to get charged, using yellow and green. Traits are allied dragons gain 2 life, immune to entangle, and reduce damage from skulls by 30%. Now, I'm not normally a fan of these troops that do the thing if they do something if a certain other troop is on your team, because it's kind of forcing you to run a certain team. But at the same time, this one actually works really, really well with Crystanax, as you imagine it should. And the reason is it uses green mana itself, and it converts all blue to green dragon gems. So if that gets a match, when you convert all those blue to green dragon gems, the way those dragon gems fire downwards and they generate a lot of mana, you can actually self-charge and then do it again. All allied dragons gain 4 magic as well. So that's going to put up Crystanax's magic every single time this casts. And Crystanax does damage to all. So that's going to put that damage to all up every single time it casts. This is actually quite good. And it's also immune to entangle, so it's viable maybe in first slot, because it also reduces damage from skulls by 30%. Yeah, not bad at all. This has got actually really good synergy with Crystanax, because Crystanax has a summon at the same time. So I quite like this. I'm going to give this a very good 7 out of 10. I'm looking forward to actually trying this out. This could be a pretty cool troop. Right, anyway, as ever, grab this all the way up to mythic level if you have enough glory. It's going to give you another troop you can get to level 20, which is going to aid your power level kingdoms in the long run, and you pick up glory keys, gold. And in this case, arcane light trait stones. So if you need them for your troops, another good way to get some of them on the cheap, basically. As ever, spoils of war, worth grabbing these too. If you have enough glory, you can get 10 a week. Best thing about these is you get some more event keys, which is the coolest thing about them, and event keys. If you're looking for a particular troop from Silverglade, you can unlock your event keys and you will only get Silverglade troops. So good chance to get the one you're after if you're missing some. Right, now on to the Soulforge itself. Let's take a look at the weapons first, as ever. Not going to do all the ones that are here all the time. These are mentioned in other videos, so I'm not going to just repeat that every single time. Emerald Blade is first up. Explodes a load of purple gems, magic +1, then grants a random status effect to all Silverglade allies, then summons a Silverglade troop. I really like these kind of weapons. They explode gems, which is going to give you mana. You get a random status effect if you've got the right type of troops on your team, in this case Silverglade, and it has a summon as well. So I do like these a lot. Very good weapons indeed, certainly worth crafting. Wild Orb. Creates 3 to 8 wild cards with various multipliers. Massive risk versus reward kind of weapon this. If it creates a low amount of wild cards, the chances are they're not going to get a match and generate much mana for you, and you could end up massively setting up the opposition, whichever way this goes. I don't like it. Yeah, I've tried it several times. Yeah, I just don't like risk versus reward things. I personally prefer the kind of weapons where you know what's going to happen, not something which is down to luck, whether it's going to work or not. Crystal Point deals damage to an enemy based on your magic, boosted by Silverglade allies, a boost ratio of ×6. Then creates a mix of 6 yellow and purple gems for each Silverglade ally. So providing you have Silverglade allies on your team that use yellow and purple, you can generate a load of mana for them for this. And actually, yeah, quite good. I do like these weapons as well. I do overall prefer the explodey weapons. They are more reliable. When you explode gems, it's guaranteed. You can actually cast this even with a full team of Silverglade allies and not get much mana from it and hand the turn back to the opposition where you didn't manage to get 4 match. And yeah, so again, if luck is on your side, these can be really good. But not as guaranteed as exploding gems. And depends what team you're fighting, really, when it comes to these sort of weapons, are they better than the ones that explode gems and have a summon? It does largely depend upon what kind of team you're fighting. Cool, we've got a load more. Loads of weapons this week. Arcanus's... Who? Arcanus... Arcanus's blade. Arcanus? That sounds like something truly terrifying. Anyway, deals damage to an enemy, and if Arcanus is on my... Oh my god, I've got to grow up. And if Arcanus is on my team, enchant myself. So if Arcanus is on your team, you will enchant yourself, which means you'll be ready to cast this again. And deals damage to an enemy. So, yeah, it's just a middling sort of low-level weapon, but more collectible than anything. Ethereal Shield. Gains a magic +1 armor and barrier a random ally for each daemon enemy. So you must be fighting a particular amount of daemons to get the most out of this. Again, more collectible than anything. You're not going to use that very much. Runestone of Silverglade. Remove all purple gems. Deal looks like magic +5 damage to an enemy, boosted by the gems removed. And if the enemy is from Silverglade or if the battle is in Silverglade, deal double damage. Now those purple gems are removed with no effect. This is kind of like the anti-Silverglade weapon. Silverglade troops like purple. It's their magic colour. It's the colour they like the most. So by taking them away, most of the time you're actually removing the gems that they want the most. And again, as it says, if the enemy is from Silverglade or if the battle is in Silverglade, deal double damage. So if you're fighting them type of enemies or you're in Silverglade, then yeah, can be fairly effective. Doomed Mask. So you put this on and it gives you a load of life to you and all your allies. Gives magic +1 life to all allies, +2 per tempering level. Give 5 mana to all other allies, so that is not yourself. And if the enemy has a doom, give 4 more mana. Give 2 magic to all allies for each blue enemy. So if you're fighting blue enemies, it's going to be more effective, and also if the enemy has a doom, it's going to be more effective. And yeah, I'm not a real fan of these ones that give life. They can be really good. All I'm saying is, as a doomed weapon, you put this weapon up, which gives life to all allies, against a doomed weapon that does damage to all enemies, for example, and I guarantee you the team that has the damaging weapon will win most battles most of the time. Can be good though, but yeah, not a fan. And Nature Sword. Deal damage to the first enemy based on your magic level, then deal triple damage if they use brown mana. So this could be really effective on Guild Wars Day, for example, if you're a newer player to the game. This is going to help balance things out against those stronger opponents. Brown Day, or the enemy should be using brown mana using troops. So you'll be doing a triple damage against them. That is not too bad, especially if you're newer to the game. Is that it? Yes, it is. Right, now on to the troops. We'll start with the mythics first. And they're all jumbled up again. Vidar the Vast is at the bottom and he's a legendary. Mother of Darkness is here. This is good because I do have enough to craft a mythic now. So this is one of the ones I'm missing. Deals a true damage to an enemy and the enemy below them. So always try and cast this in that way so you get the extra damage. Boosted by purple gems at a 1-to-1 ratio. And if an enemy dies, create 12 purple gems, which is quite likely to get another match. Otherwise, summon 2 Sisters of Shadows. So if an enemy dies, if you can look at that and you know you're going to kill them, you're going to create more gems. If you don't kill them, you're going to get a summon of 2 Sisters of Shadows. Now, I like it, but that second part of the spell is if they don't die is a bit annoying. Summoning 2 Sisters of Shadows, because this is obviously based on a true damage team. And indeed, inflict bleed to all enemies when matching 4 or more gems is effectively true damage as well. So It's going to work well on a true damage team, but Sister of Shadows doesn't do true damage. But I suppose it's good for filling in gaps if you did lose any, so it's not all bad. Just saying it doesn't work very well with the other part of the spell. And she is actually stealthy, cannot be targeted by spells, which is cool, and summons a Dark Storm when an enemy dies. But a very good mythic, not quite top tier, but very, very good indeed. And probably the one that I'm going to craft this week. We'll see who else is here first. Alemagrim, pretty decent, like this a lot. Deals damage to all enemies, create 9 purple gems boosted by burning enemies. So if you can get the whole enemy team burning, you're going to create 13 purple gems. And that has got a high chance of just matching up, creating 4 matches, getting it charged again, and doing it again. And also decreases all enemies' attack by 4 on 4 or 5 gem matches. That may not sound a lot, but the fact is, the way the spell works, if you can get a lot of purple going on, then it's got a chance to repeat cast that and basically decrease all enemies' attack by 4 on more than one occasion. Also, immune to all status effects, Devour, Lycanthropy and Mana Burn is very good indeed, but gain 1 life for each purple ally is largely irrelevant. But yeah, I do like the damage to all troops. They're very good against stealthy opponents who are hiding in the bushes, but they can't hide from the dragon fire from Alemagrim. Ulfgarok. It's a bit rubbish really, isn't it? Looks like it deals magic plus 2 damage to an enemy boosted by Wargear allies. So you need Wargear allies in your team to boost that damage ratio by anything significant. And if the enemy dies, devour a random enemy. So you do get 2 kills effectively if you cast that at a time where somebody will die. But that's the trouble. You need to get someone really softened up on the other side first, put them in guaranteed kill range first. And that is where the issue is with Ulfgarok. There are just better troops for doing that kind of thing these days. Give 2 attack and magic to allied Wargear when matching 4 or more gems is the best trait there, but even that's not spectacular. Well, I say the best trait, it's the 3rd trait, it's the mythic trait, it's meant to be the best one, but it's nothing too spectacular. Impervious is always handy though, and gain 1 life when an ally casts a spell is, again, very, very slow going and largely ineffective. And Abi Nisya is the last one. This was the 2nd mythic I ever got. I got War as my first ever mythic, I remember that quite clearly. And I think Abi Nisya was my 2nd one. It was either that or the other way around, or Abi Nisya was my first one and then War. Can't remember. But anyway, War and Abi Nisya were my first 2 mythics in the game. And I remember thinking she was actually quite decent at the time. I wouldn't say she's completely diabolical now. It's not as good because there's certain other troops which come along since which basically supersede this kind of thing. But it's not hideous, but I certainly wouldn't craft it. I'd wait for it to pop up in chests just by randomness. Explodes all gems of a chosen colour and summons an Infernal King. The benefit of being able to choose which colour you explode is simply because obviously you can literally choose whichever colour is the most relevant on the screen, so you get the biggest explosion. And an Infernal King is a decent troop as well, so not too shabby, but not great either. It's just a bit All daemons gain 2 attack and life at the start of each turn. Queen's Grace. All enemies lose 2 random skill points and immune to burning and fairy fire. Now the thing with these troops is, and I can actually judge this on this because I remember quite clearly having this as a newer player, is as a player that's quite experienced now, things like that Queen's Grace seems largely irrelevant and rubbish. But I remember that being really effective as a newer player. So just because some of these mythics are no good to more experienced players doesn't mean to say they're no good to you when you're a newer player and your stats aren't that high, because that all daemons gain 2 attack and life at the start of each turn can actually be very effective when you're a newer player and your stats aren't that high. So some mythics like this are ineffective to experienced players, but they certainly can be very good if you're a newer player. So I remember having that as a newer player, and indeed that was the case. Still wouldn't say it's worth crafting. We'll come to who I think is the mythic of the week in a minute. We'll just go over the legendaries now ever so quickly. Who have we got? Sylvani Mora. Like this a lot. Explodes a column, which means 3 rows, and you can get a lot of mana from that. then deals damage to all enemies based on your magic. But I really like the third trait, entangle the first enemy on 4 or 5 gem matches. Really good against skull damage teams, because as soon as you get a 4 or 5 match, you're going to be entangling the first enemy. And if that enemy dies, the next enemy down effectively becomes the first enemy, and so it goes on. So just get the 4 matches against a skull match team with Sylvan and Aurora. Gives you a really good chance to do well. King Highforge. See this guy all the time in dwarf teams. Because of that, all dwarf allies start with 50% mana. Also has Fortitude, immune to stun, poison, disease, death mark, lycanthropy, and devour. Is really cool. And it stuns enemies, deals damage to them, and has a summon at the same time. So really good troop. Always see it in dwarf teams. Very good indeed. Again, I always say I wouldn't actually craft legendaries unless they're utterly something unbelievable, like a Yao Guai, who is basically a mythic. But generally, I'd wait for these to pop up in chests. Glitterclaw. Deals damage to a random enemy, boost, then transform all blue gems to green to boost the effect. And Fairy Fire all enemies. I really like Fairy Fire. When you Fairy Fire troops, they receive 50% extra damage from incoming spells. And that can be really significant. So yeah, Glitterclaw, very good indeed for boosting the damage of your spells. And it gains enchant when matching red gems is the best of the traits. Which means it'll be ready to cast again. Vidar the Vast. This is actually quite good. It doesn't sound that hot when you first read it. Choose an enemy. There is a 10% chance to devour them, boosted by blue gems on the board, otherwise deal damage. I've done a team on this fairly recently, showing how you can get devours really easily with this guy by boosting up the blue gems on the board, and it was really effective. So not too bad at all. Immune to stun is pretty cool, and gain 2 attack, life and armor when matching 4 or more gems. What else we got? That wasn't 4. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it was 4. So yeah, that is the troops. Let's have a quick look over these summoning ones, see if there's anybody who you should be thinking about taking a risk on these summons. If there's anybody really good. Like if Leprechaun was in there, like I pointed out last week, I think it was. And Charleston was in it fairly recently. Some of those really cool troops where people may not realise they're in here. Sister of Nightmares is okay on Bounty. Yeah, I wouldn't say there's anybody completely game-changing around that week, this week in there. But you can always look in there. You can take a look in there, see if there's anybody you haven't got that you fancy, and then just go for the different colours and see what you think. But who is my mythic of the week? Who is it going to be today? Well, it's only between 2, really. Mother of Darkness and a Lemagrim. But it has to go to Mother of Darkness. Very good indeed. True damage boosted by purple gems. Inflicts bleed all enemies when matching 4 or more gems is good, and is also stealthy. Very good indeed. That is going to be my mythic of the week. In fact, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is and buy it right now. Kaboom. There it is. Mother of Darkness. Let's get this. No, I'm not going to spend 32 quid. It's so quick, this game, isn't it? Like, yeah, quick, give us some money. Got this thing, give us some money. No, it's not happening. I'll do it normally. Thank you very much. 32 quid just to get them upgraded. It's unreal. Let's just do this quick. Upgrade. Let's get that. And that. There it is, another one to level 20 and another mythic. I'll be back later on with the Wild Event team for this week, so check that later on. But thanks for watching this video, and I'll catch you next time. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Bye for now.